I want you to do me a favor right now. Like, wherever you are, just mentally dim the lights.
Yeah, pull up a log.
Exactly.
Right?
Pull up a log and imagine you are sitting around a crackling campfire, staring into the dark woods just beyond the tree line.
Setting the mood. I like it.
Because today we are looking at an anomaly where the most terrifying ghost you can encounter on a dark, desolate highway. Well, it isn't a dead stranger from decades past.
No, it's really not.
The most terrifying thing you can encounter out there, out in the pitch black, is a living version of yourself from tomorrow.
It is just a phenomenal premise. I mean, the audio account we're examining today, it details the legend of the Phantom Hitchhiker of Highway 47.
Right.
And on the surface, it reads like a classic psychological thriller, but underneath that narrative shell, it operates as this intricate, almost clinical study in cosmic horror.
Yeah, cosmic horror for sure.
And the terrifying mechanics of a closed-loop paradox.
Okay, let's unpack this. But before we dive into the mechanics of paradoxes and phantoms, I need to break the fourth wall for a second.
Oh, here we go, the warning.
I have to. I need to give you, the listener, a very direct, very stern warning based on the specific rules laid out in this account.
People need to hear this.
If you are listening to this right now while driving at night, especially if the clock on your dashboard has already ticked past midnight, you need to pay close attention.
Keep your eyes locked on the yellow lines ahead.
Exactly. And whatever you do, no matter what you think you see on the shoulder of the road, do not pull over for anyone.
That is the ultimate survival tactic hidden within this folklore. Because what makes this audio file so uniquely unsettling is that while we're not dealing with a traditional supernatural haunting.
Right. It's not a ghost story in the usual sense.
No. The haunting isn't the entity. The haunting is the geography.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it.
When we analyze the details of Highway 47, we are looking at a geographic trap. Like a literal, localized rupture in space-time that is permanently pinned to a very specific, unassuming location.
Mile marker 229.
Exactly. Mile marker 229.
And that is the core mystery that completely hooked me. The overarching theme of this entire account isn't that this phantom hitchhiker is out there, haunting a stretch of the highway. It's that the highway is actively haunting her.
Which fundamentally flips the script on decades of urban legends.
Totally.
To understand how a trap like that functions, we have to look at the foundational lore provided in the source documentation. I mean, for almost 50 years, travelers on this specific route have reported an impossible recurring sight at that exact spot.
And it's always under the exact same conditions.
Yes, always deep into the early morning hours, always after midnight. And it always features a lone figure waiting by the asphalt.
So let's go back to the beginning. The first officially recorded sighting in this audio log dates all the way back to 1979.
A long time ago.
Yeah, and think about what long-haul trucking was actually like back then. It was a completely different world of isolation.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, no cell phones, no GPS, no satellite radio, just a driver, a big rig, miles of dark asphalt, and, a pair of headlights cutting through the pitch black.
Very Stephen King.
Right. So this trucker is hauling past mile marker 229, and as his lights wash over the shoulder, he sees a woman in a pale dress waving him down.
A seemingly mundane scenario. A stranded motorist in need of assistance.
So naturally, he takes his foot off the gas and hits the brake.
Yeah.
But the second his vehicle begins to decelerate, the woman vanishes from the shoulder.
Just completely gone.
Completely. He looks around, checks his side mirrors, trying to figure out if it was like a trick of the light or something. Then he suddenly realizes she isn't on the road anymore.
Because she's in the cab.
She's sitting right there inside the locked cabin, in the sleeper berth, right behind his seat.
Oh, man.
And before dissipating into thin air, she leans forward and whispers one sentence, just 3 words.
Yeah.
You already crashed.
The linguistic horror of that phrase is brilliant.
It really is.
You already crashed. It functions not as a threat of impending violence, right? But as a statement of predestination.
Yeah, like it's a done deal.
Exactly. The timeline has already collapsed. She is delivering a past tense fact before the event has even occurred in the trucker's linear perception of reality.
Which is terrifying because, as the account notes, the very next morning, that trucker's rig was found overturned in a deep ditch near the mile marker.
The paradox asserts itself.
Yeah. The driver survived the wreck, but the psychological toll was so severe he never operated a vehicle again.
I wouldn't either.
I can't even imagine trying to drive after experiencing that.
Yeah.
But here is where the legend morphs from a standard ghost story into something far more twisted.
The shifting faces.
Exactly. Over the decades that followed, the late-night sightings at mile marker 229 continued, but the appearance of the hitchhiker started to splinter. It wasn't just a woman in a pale dress anymore.
Right.
Witnesses reported wildly different descriptions, different hair colors, different clothing, different ages, different genders.
Right. This is where we step away from traditional folklore and into the realm of cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
The audiophile notes this really disturbing pattern. Some drivers rolling past mile marker 229 saw a complete stranger. Others reported looking at the shoulder and seeing the face of a deceased loved one.
Which is awful.
And a small, very unfortunate fraction of witnesses looked out their passenger window and saw themselves staring back from the dark grass.
It's just seeing your own face out there in the dark.
Terrifying.
Yet, regardless of whose face was standing out there in the cold, this account makes it clear that every single witness walked away with the exact same eerie feeling. They all told investigators some variation of, "I recognized her, I just don't know from where."
What's fascinating here is that feeling of misplaced familiarity. That's the psychological mechanism of the trap.
How so?
Well, in neurology, facial recognition is a highly specialized process. When a driver looks at the figure on the road, their brain's pattern recognition software fires a massive familiarity signal. But the context is completely wrong. You know that person, but they cannot possibly be standing on a desolate highway at 2 a.m.
Right, it makes no sense.
That mismatch creates a profound cognitive dissonance. The brain stutters, trying to resolve the impossible data, and that stutter manifests as deep, paralyzing dread.
See, I love that you brought up the brain stuttering because it changes how we view the entity.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when we talk about folklore or a standard ghost story, a spirit is stuck on repeat.
Yeah, like a tape recording.
Exactly. They are playing out their own personal tragedy over and over,
Ugh.
completely oblivious to the living world. But this phantom adapts. It specifically targets the driver's own psyche, pulling from their memories to generate a face they literally cannot ignore.
Yes.
It's like the highway itself is casting a personalized fishing lure for every passing car. Digging through their subconscious to find the exact bait that will force that specific driver to hit the brakes.
That fishing lure analogy is spot on. The anomaly isn't simply presenting a terrifying image. It requires engagement to activate.
Right.
The track springs shut at the exact moment of recognition. When the driver looks at the figure and their brain clicks that split second of, "I know you," the hook is set.
Wow.
The psychological terror is entirely predicated on weaponizing human curiosity, forcing the victim to focus on the anomaly rather than the road ahead.
Which transitions us perfectly into the events of 2024. Because if you want to see what happens when human beings don't just briefly look at the anomaly, but actively decide to set up camp and study it,
Yeah.
well, you get this documentary crew.
A disastrous decision.
Unbelievably disastrous. We're introduced to 4 young, highly ambitious filmmakers who decide they're going to be the ones to finally capture the Phantom of Highway 47 on camera and solve the mystery.
It is the ultimate display of modern hubris.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, they approach a fundamental breakdown in reality with the mindset of investigative journalists. They bring high-definition cameras, boom mics, and this naive conviction that technology can somehow conquer the unknown.
Yeah, like a ghost hunt.
Exactly. They stake out mile marker 229 night after night, hour after hour, treating a temporal trap like it's a wildlife observation.
And the narrator of the audio file drops this perfectly ominous line right here. They say they were looking for the loop and the highway noticed.
Give me chills.
Right. The crew didn't just stumble into the trap. They walked right up and knocked on the front door.
Let's analyze their descent into this anomaly because the highway dismantles them in methodical stages.
Yeah, let's go through.
On the first night of the stakeout, the entity manifests. It appears as a woman in a white dress with long hair and bare feet standing silently on the shoulder.
But the horror of that moment isn't just the sudden appearance of a figure in the dark. The account details how the crew's sound tech, she's looked through her monitor, and she just drops her gear and starts screaming hysterically.
Yeah.
She's screaming because she isn't looking at a generic ghost. The Phantom's face is her own.
Just horrible.
The sound tech is staring at a barefoot, pale version of herself.
And this aligns perfectly with the historical reports of the shifting faces. The highway is presenting its mirror. It is testing the crew's reactions, establishing that personalized connection.
But it gets worse.
Oh, much worse. The phenomenon escalates significantly on the second night, shifting from passive reflection to active intervention.
Night 2. This time, there's no woman in white. A man steps out from the tree line directly into the middle of the road.
Right in front of them.
The producer of the documentary peers through the windshield of their parked SUV, and recognizes the man instantly. Because, once again, it's himself.
Yeah.
But the footage description is incredibly specific here.
Mhm.
Is the producer, but he looks weathered. He looks years older, physically exhausted, and absolutely terrified.
And unlike the silent apparitions of the past 40 years, this manifestation interacts directly with the physical environment.
He actually touches the car.
Yes. The older version of the producer slams his hands onto the hood of their vehicle, leans toward the glass, and shouts a very specific warning, "Turn back before she finds you."
And then he vanishes.
A moment later, he vanishes into the mist.
Okay, I have to stop right here and ask you a serious question.
Mm.
And I really want the listener to put themselves in the driver's seat for this exact scenario.
Oh, I know what you're going to ask.
What would you actually do? You are staking out a haunted highway. A man steps in front of your car, slams his hands on the hood, and you realize you are staring into the eyes of an older, traumatized version of yourself who is begging you to leave.
You can leave.
You'd leave, right? You would throw that SUV in reverse, burn rubber, and never speak of mile marker 229 again. Why on earth are they still there on night 3?
See, logically, baseline self-preservation should dictate an immediate retreat.
Right.
But you are looking at it through the lens of free will. And this audio file suggests that free will inside the anomaly is an illusion.
Wow. Okay.
By engaging with the trap on night 1, causality has already been compromised. The older producer warning them isn't a possible outcome, it is a rigid fact of their timeline.
But really?
Yes. The tragedy here isn't that they stubbornly chose to stay. The tragedy is the horrifying realization that determinism has taken over.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You're saying the trap isn't that they decide to stay. The trap is the inevitability of the loop itself.
Precisely. Look at the thematic escalation. Night 1 was a reflection of the present, the sound tech seeing herself as she is.
Okay.
Night 2 was a desperate transmission from a doomed future. The highway isn't summoning spirits of dead travelers, it is actively projecting the crew's own inevitable fate back at them.
That's so grim.
It is folding time in on itself, pulling their future and their present toward a single catastrophic collision point on that asphalt.
And that collision point arrives on the 3rd night, the climax of this entire investigation. The crew is back out on the highway, driving slowly near the mile marker when they find the road completely blocked.
The final stage.
But it's not a person standing in their way this time. It's a wrecked vehicle.
A catastrophic crash site. Metal crushed inward, glass shattered across the lanes, the chassis burned black and still billowing thick, acrid smoke into the night air.
As the crew cautiously steps out of their SUV and approaches the mangled metal, they shine their flashlights inside the cabin. And there are 4 bodies inside.
Yeah.
The remains are completely unrecognizable due to the fire and the impact trauma. Unrecognizable, except for one horrifying, hyper-specific detail.
The clothing.
The clothes. The flashlights reveal that the 4 dead bodies in the blending car are wearing the exact same flannels, jackets, and boots as the 4 documentary crew members currently standing outside the car.
This is the exact threshold where the temporal paradox fully materializes into physical reality.
It's just unbelievable.
But the most chilling detail documented in this segment isn't the bodies, it is the electronics surviving the fire.
Oh man, the dash cam.
The dashcam mounted inside the wrecked, smoking vehicle is still functional, its screen is glowing in the dark, and it displays a digital timestamp.
Tomorrow, 2:17 a.m.
Tomorrow, 2:17 a.m., the dashcam is recording a crash that will not occur for another 24 hours.
Insane.
Their future death is already a permanent physical fixture of the landscape, quietly burning in front of them while they are currently alive and breathing.
It's just mind-bending. I'm trying to wrap my head around the physics of it. You are standing on a dark road, staring at a glowing screen that provides empirical, recorded proof that you die tomorrow inside a car you haven't even crashed yet.
Yes.
If causality is completely broken like that, how does the universe not just snap in half?
Well, in theoretical physics, this aligns terrifyingly well with the Novikov self-consistency principle.
Okay, what is that?
The principle theorizes that if an event exists that would cause a paradox or any change to the past whatsoever, the probability of that event is 0.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning the timeline is unalterable. The crew seeing their own dead bodies doesn't give them the knowledge to avoid the crash. Seeing the bodies is the exact psychological catalyst that will eventually cause the crash.
Oh, wow. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. The loop demands to be closed, and the universe will enforce that consistency no matter how horrifying the mechanism.
And while they are processing as an absolute nightmare of inevitability, The environment shifts again. Someone steps out from behind the smoking wreckage.
The lone survivor of the anomaly.
A woman steps into the headlights. She's covered in dried blood. She's physically shaking. And the account describes her eyes as utterly hollow, stripped of all hope.
Just completely broken.
The crew raises their flashlights. The beams hit her face, and the horrific recognition sets in once more. It is their director, the leader of their own documentary crew.
Yeah.
But just like the producer the night before, the toll of time is evident. She isn't just a few days older. She is decades older. Her hair is grayed. Her face is lined with years of exposure and trauma.
From her subjective perspective, an entire lifetime has passed since she first arrived at mile marker 229.
The older director looks at her younger, terrified crew and whispers, "You shouldn't have come. I've tried to break the loop, but the highway always wins."
That single line of dialogue recontextualizes the entire 50-year history of the Phantom Hitchhiker.
It really does. The reality of what they are facing finally shatters the crew's investigative detachment. Total panic sets in. They realize they are standing in their own graveyard.
Finally, the flight response kicks in.
Right, so they sprint back to their SUV, jump inside, and slam on the gas. They don't care about the documentary anymore. They just want to get away from the burning wreck, away from the older director, and as far from mile marker 229 as the engine will take them.
But escaping a geographic trap isn't a matter of horsepower.
No.
By the time they attempt to flee, the spatial geometry of the highway has become just as fluid and corrupted as the flow of time.
Which is just a nightmare.
The archival footage describes the physical road as bending, twisting, and folding back on itself in ways that completely defy Euclidean geometry.
The imagery used to describe this escape attempt is incredible. The narrator says the road became a snake swallowing its tail.
A perfect metaphor.
Think about the visceral claustrophobia of that concept. You are driving 90 miles an hour on an open, multi-lane highway. By its very definition, a highway represents freedom, linear movement, the ability to put distance between yourself and your past.
Right.
But this open highway has transformed into a locked cage. No matter how fast they drive, no matter how many miles the odometer clicks past, the dark trees just keep repeating.
Over and over.
The landscape loops right back to where they started, right back to the mist, the trees, and mile marker 229.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you realize this is the purest essence of cosmic horror.
Oh, absolutely.
The entity the crew thought they were investigating, the legendary Phantom in the pale dress, was never a spirit from the beyond.
Right.
The older director they encountered wasn't a ghostly projection. She is the physical, biological manifestation of decades spent trapped in a single, endlessly repeating night.
Living it forever.
She has been wandering that stretch of asphalt, desperately trying to stop travelers, trying to stop her past self from completing the very loop she is already imprisoned within.
Which leads us to the morning after, the brutal aftermath of the inevitable. The audio account gives us this final, cynical narrative beat. Dawn finally breaks over Highway 47.
The sun comes up.
The mist clears. A state highway patrolman is cruising his regular morning route, drinking his coffee, when he comes across a scene at mile marker 229.
The physical remnants of the paradox.
A burned-out, mangled SUV resting in the ditch. The patrolman pulls over, grabs his radio, and approaches the vehicle. Inside the blackened frame, he finds 4 bodies. They are completely unrecognizable. He calls it into dispatch, the coroner arrives, and the official report marks the incident down in the county ledger. Case closed. Another tragic late-night accident.
Typical bureaucratic response.
The documentary crew met the exact, unavoidable fate that the dashcam timestamp predicted.
The timeline asserted itself. The future they witnessed materialized into their present, and the loop snapped shut in the flames. But the official police report contains one final anomalous addendum before the patrolman clears the scene, doesn't it?
It does. Before getting back into his cruiser to leave, the patrolman keys his radio one last time to notify dispatch of a strange detail.
Yeah.
He reports that there is a woman standing on the gravel shoulder of the highway, just a few hundred yards down from the smoking wreck. She is wearing a pale, dirt-stained dress.
The director.
She has a completely blank, hollow stare. In her hands, she is loosely holding a melted piece of camera equipment. As the patrolman watches, she slowly lifts her arm and sticks her thumb out into the road, waiting for the next set of headlights to cut through the dark.
It is a profoundly devastating conclusion.
So what does this all mean for the legend? I mean, we started this deep dive by asking if the Phantom Hitchhiker of Highway 47 was a vengeful ghost or a helpful warning. But the reality is far more tragic than both of those options.
Exponentially more tragic. The terrifying truth embedded in this folklore is that the Phantom was never a ghost. She is a survivor. She is that 2024 documentary director.
Right.
She survived the horrific crash that killed her crew, crawling from the wreckage, only to realize that surviving the impact was the actual punishment.
That is so bleak.
Because now she is trapped in a localized temporal loop that, from the perspective of the outside world, has already lasted for half a century. She stands on the side of the road not to haunt people, but as a desperate, living warning that no one ever understands until it's too late.
Because everyone who pulls over out of kindness or curiosity just becomes another cog in the crash that traps her. Which brings me back to you listening to this right now.
Yes, the warning.
Having unpacked the psychology and the temporal mechanics of this trap, I need to reiterate the opening warning with absolute gravity.
The mechanics of survival are incredibly simple, but they require you to fight every human instinct you have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you are ever driving on Highway 47, or honestly any dark, lonely, tree-lined stretch of road after midnight, the radio is playing low, the heater is on, and your headlights suddenly wash over the silhouette of someone standing on the shoulder, waving you down.
Do not stop.
Do not try to get a better look. Do not even let your foot hover over the brake pedal. Keep your eyes absolutely glued to the yellow lines and keep driving.
Just keep driving.
Because this legend makes one thing painfully clear. The moment you look over, the moment your brain misfires and you recognize her face in the dark, you haven't just seen a ghost. The temporal loop has already chosen you. And as far as the highway is concerned, you've already crashed.
It is a chilling directive that forces you to reconsider the whole concept of being a good Samaritan.
Jeezly.
But exploring this temporal loop raises one final, deeply unsettling question. A thought I want to leave you to ponder as you navigate the dark stretches of your own commute.
Okay, what is it?
We now understand that the woman standing by the road at the end of the narrative is the surviving director from the 2024 documentary crew trapped in the loop, aging alone on the asphalt.
Yes, the timeline loops her existence backward.
But if the Phantom is definitively the 2024 director, who was the Phantom that the lonely trucker saw waving him down all the way back in 1979,
Oh, wow.
does the highway operate like a revolving door, occasionally collecting new victims from different eras, updating its trap with fresh faces? Or is space-time at mile marker 229 so profoundly, utterly shattered that this exact same documentary crew has been discovering the anomaly, crashing and dying on this highway since the very dawn of the automobile?
Now that is a thought experiment that will keep you wide awake on a long midnight drive. A tragedy repeating forever, echoing backward through time. Remember the rule. Keep your eyes on the road. Do not pull over.